Welcome back to a new episode of GWeek.
Since our last episode, we've seen developments at home and worldwide, from Russia cutting relations with NATO to the approval of booster shots for Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine recipients.
We'll also cover updates from George Washington University's Student Association, GW's highly anticipated commencement on the National Mall for classes of 2020 and 2021, and various spooky traditions happening around the district as October nears its end. Welcome to the show. I'm Katie Coolidge.
And I'm Annalise Forlenza.
According to the New York Times, the U.S. Food and Drug Association approved booster vaccines for all recipients of the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine. Reported by The Hill, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the chief medical advisor to the president, believes Johnson & Johnson should have been originally a two-dose vaccine. The study presented to the FDA was not designed to compare one combination of shots to another, so no combination recommendation has been provided, but will allow the second shot for 15 million Americans who received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Recipients of the vaccine are eligible for the booster shot only 2 months after their original dosage. Additionally, unlike other vaccines, Johnson & Johnson does not have age constraints. According to ABC News, experts say that people as young as 18 should receive the booster shot.
The organization Students for DC Statehood is continuing to work towards Washington, D.C. becoming a state, following a recent Supreme Court decision denying the district voting representation in the United States Congress. Here's Charlene Richards with the story.
The United States Supreme Court ruled on Monday, October 4th, that Washington, D.C. is not constitutionally entitled to voting representation in the United States Congress. This decision disappointed many who are in support of D.C. statehood, a political movement that advocates the establishment of D.C. as a state in order to provide residents of the district with voting rights and representation in Congress. Currently, the District of Columbia has a non-voting delegate as a representative in Congress, and the only way residents of D.C. can pass laws is through congressional approval. According to DCHealthMatters.org, there are over 700,000 residents in Washington, D.C., 43.9% of whom are Black, 0.36% of whom are Indigenous American, 4.48% of whom are Asian American, and 0.0% of whom are Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander. Together, 350,000 of D.C. residents are from these communities, which are historically underrepresented in this country. The majority of D.C. residents are members of Black and Brown communities, which are currently and will continue to lack representation if D.C. does not become a state. A youth-led group is working to change this ruling, which has remained robust for decades. Students for D.C. Statehood is an organization dedicated to educating and mobilizing students and young adults to advocate for statehood for the people of Washington, D.C. The organization has 10 chapters in total, including 9 throughout the district and 1 in Massachusetts. Hi, please introduce yourself, your name, your major, and your relation to DC statehood. Please give a background of the org.
My name is Teresa Klugowitz. I'm a sophomore here at George Washington University. I'm majoring in political science and American studies, and I'm the current president of GW Students for DC Statehood. The organization is a student-run and student-based organization that was actually founded by an American university student. We currently are fighting for, obviously, statehood for the District of Columbia. We do a lot of activism and outreach in order to achieve that. The students currently work on a lot of different projects, including letter writing events, protests, rallies. We go to different speakers. We have political speakers come to us, and we kind of just try to educate the community and form an organization that's really strongly pushing for statehood.
In the year 2012, 20 students from the DC Statehood chapter engaged in a peaceful protest from Kogan Plaza to the Capitol to protest the district's lack of representation in Congress and autonomy over its budget. City advocates also joined the students at the Upper Senate Park, but 6 of the protesters, including 4 GW students, were arrested at about 4:45 p.m. when they sat down near a street intersection, blocking traffic. They were handcuffed by the police, but released after 3 hours. Students for D.C. Statehood will continue the fight to support the congressional delegation in promoting statehood for D.C. and voting representation in Congress. The current commission is composed of Mayor Muriel Bowser, Council Chairman Phil Mendelson, Senators Paul Strauss and Michael D. Brown. Organizations and groups within a district composed of over 700,000 people, more than the population of Wyoming and Vermont together, are rallying to ensure that D.C. residents receive a congressional vote in the near future. I'm Charlene Richards for GWeek, Washington, D.C.
Starting this spring semester, graduate students at George Washington University will be able to take a class called Hacking for Defense, which takes an entrepreneurial and interdisciplinary approach in solving national security challenges in the United States. This will be a congressionally funded class listed as MGT 6290 in partnership with the Department of Defense and will be offered through GW's School of Business. GW's location in the heart of Washington, D.C. gives students prime access in seeing their work's impact outside of the classroom. This class will feature hands-on activities where students will split into teams and create a business model designed to address key areas in intelligence and defense. GW will be one of 62 universities in the country to teach this course that started at Stanford University in 2017. Hacking for Defense is not just limited to business students. The school is encouraging students from every graduate school at GW to apply. As Jim Chung, Associate Vice President for Research at GW's Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship said, the course is a, quote, no-brainer for people. It will change the way you think about how you use everything at GW.
Earlier this month, GW hosted the commencement for the class of 2020 and 2021. Senator Elizabeth Warren gave the keynote address on the National Mall. The event was the cornerstone of GW's Century Celebration Weekend, where the school celebrated its bicentennial. Reporter Benjamin Pearl has the story.
I'm standing here at the commencement ceremony of the George Washington University's classes of 2020 and 2021. This is the first time that GW grads have congregated on the National Mall to receive their diplomas in over 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. These graduates had to finish their college experiences online, completing their courses amidst the largest public health crisis in over a century. And neither class was given an in-person commencement ceremony until today. Clearly, students, staff, and faculty are thrilled to finally be celebrating this only at GW tradition. Not only will this commencement be celebrating the graduation of 2 different classes, this ceremony is one like never before. Each attendee must provide proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test within 72 hours before the commencement ceremony. Masks are a must if you want to attend. And finally, after hearing from honorary degree recipients and speakers from the classes of 2020 and 2021,
seizing an opportunity not always granted with no hesitation. The journey will try to deter us, and some will say we weren't meant to be here. They are wrong.
My sincere congratulations to the George Washington University graduates who, despite extraordinary constraints and uncertainty, persevered and are being celebrated here today.
I hereby confer on you the degree of Doctor of Public Service, honoris causa, and declare you fully entitled to all of its rights, honors, privileges, and responsibilities.
the GW grads rose and celebrated their degrees. The event also falls within the George Washington University's Centuries Weekend, a celebration of our school's bicentennial from when the United States Congress established the university's charter in 1821. Under the most extraordinary circumstances, for all of those involved with GW, this will be a remarkable weekend of celebration, anticipation, and momentum going forward into an uncertain world. With GWeek, I'm Benjamin Pearl.
Thanks, Benjamin. Stay tuned for more after the break.
Hi, Colonials. Did you know there are hundreds of ways for you to volunteer with GW? Each year, over 1,500 alumni, parents, and friends contribute thousands of hours to make our community stronger. There are countless ways you can volunteer, so it's easy to choose an opportunity that is most meaningful to you, like connecting with students and alumni based on your student involvement, identity, or personal interests. Getting involved with your local alumni network. Mentoring a current student via our online mentoring platform. Connecting with prospective students through undergraduate admissions opportunities. Serving on an industry network leadership council. Becoming a social media ambassador. The list goes on. No matter where you are in the world or how much time you have to give, you can connect and volunteer with GW. And the best part, it's easy to get involved. Just visit alumni.gwu.edu/volunteer to learn more about these and other opportunities. Because of your service to GW, you are able to make a direct impact on the lives of former, current, and future students. We look forward to working with you. Raise high.
Welcome back. Earlier this month, thousands of climate change protesters came to D.C. to put pressure on President Biden to take a stronger stance on restricting fossil fuel projects, according to the Washingtonian. The projects were organized by the Build Back Fossil Free Coalition. The union of different groups wants to hold President Biden accountable for climate, economic, and social justice, according to the organization's mission statement. Each day had a different focus, such as fossil fuels are driving the climate crisis, to needing real solutions, not false promises. The protesters wanted to speak with Interior Secretary Deb Haaland, the first Native American to hold the position. However, according to a statement from an agency spokesperson, Haaland was outside of D.C. during the protest.
This past month, the death of Gabby Petito shook the nation. The 22-year-old woman was reported missing in early September after traveling across the country with her boyfriend. Petito's fiancé, Brian Laundrie, has been missing since the day before her body was found, and he is considered a person of interest in connection to the case. Her situation brings to light the horrifying realities of domestic violence and sparked a national outcry for attention regarding the common violence against women, particularly against women of color, who are often overlooked by law enforcement and the media. Morgan Miller has the story.
On September 11, 2021, Gabby Petito was reported missing after her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, returned home from their cross-country trip without her. Just weeks before, the couple had been confronted by police after getting into a physical altercation. Neither pressed charges, and the police asked the couple to separate for the night. Shortly after, the couple was spotted in a heated argument outside of a restaurant. Just weeks later, Petito's body was found, and Laundrie has become a person of interest in her death. As the condolences and outrage emerged following Petito's passing, many have questioned why this case received so much attention in particular. Questions have arisen regarding a lack of similar urgency for the homicide cases of women of color. The term missing white woman syndrome has been used to describe the inequities of law enforcement and media attention on the homicide cases of women of color in comparison to their white counterparts. On September 21st, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis publicly stated that he had directed all state agencies to assist in the search for Laundrie as a person of interest. Viewers across the country seek justice for Petito, but they also mourn the thousands of missing women of color whose cases do not receive the same urgency, time, and resources. All across the nation, people of color, and specifically women of color, go missing each year, but the cases remain drastically underreported. The National Crime Information Center found that in 1 year, 5,712 Indigenous women and girls went missing, while the Department of Justice only reported 116 of these cases. In addition, Petito's disappearance and murder has inspired women all across the nation to share their own stories of domestic violence. The issue of domestic violence has resurfaced on the national stage, and recently, the New York Times reported that 25% of women and 10% of men have experienced sexual violence in their lifetime, showing just how prevalent this issue can be. Petito's case shines light on the prevalence of domestic violence and the need for change. If you or someone you know is in need of help or additional resources, they can be found at www.hotline.org. For GWeek, this is Morgan Miller.
Thanks, Morgan.
George Washington University is experiencing a rebound in student enrollment and retention as students return to campus in person this fall semester. The Vice Provost of Enrollment and Student Success, Jay Goff, told the Faculty Senate on Friday that first-year student enrollment increased by 30% from 2020, and first to second-year retention improved from 88 to 91%. 70% of students who took a leave of absence in the spring of 2021 have returned. According to Goff, quote, "The big picture is that things look good." However, despite these numbers, GW's overall graduate enrollment is slightly lower than it was in 2020. Goff said, quote, "Our primary work right now will be focusing on how to develop new outreach and recruitment plans that will help us regain these numbers."
We'll be right back after a quick break.
George Washington play a critical role in hosting debate and discourse on events of the day.
The right answer is not to refuse the other. The right answer is not to say, get rid of this religion. It's not part of us. It's wrong.
I think that the story of America is a story of race. So when I think of the questions that I'm asking or the stories that I'm going to write, I'm thinking, okay, well, what are we learning about our country?
Well, I think the likelihood of him being indicted is close to 100%. There was a lot of hurdles that had to be cleared in order for that to happen.
One of the reasons that Donald Trump is president is because there is such a frustration with the way that Washington functions.
Sympathy is one thing, but empathy is the language of recovery, and it's something that's, without a doubt, instilled into every person that's in recovery.
It's never lead with the positive, it's always lead with the perceived negative.
Well, that is part of the problem. I mean, I actually would agree with you on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One of the things that we have seen that is most under siege in this country is the notion of civil discourse, and we here at GW, among other things, very much want to stand for that.
This is truly an only at GW moment.
Welcome back to the show. According to the New York Times, Russia cut their relations with NATO after 8 Russian diplomats were expelled from the organization and accused of being, quote, undeclared Russian intelligence officers. The article mentioned how Russia's relation to the organization had recently, quote, gone off the rails. However, there is no current Russian military threat towards Europe that would endanger any country's security. This action comes at an interesting time as President Biden is working to strengthen American-Russian relations. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov told reporters in Moscow that, quote, following certain measures taken by NATO, the basic conditions for common work no longer exist. NATO is said to have, quote, muted response to the action, according to the article.
On a more presidential note, the Thomas Jefferson statue is being taken down from a prominent spot in New York City Hall. Members of the Public Design Commission agreed to take down the statue because Jefferson should not be, quote, in a position of honor and recognition and tribute, Councilmember Inez Barron said, according to NPR. This recent movement towards taking down the statue comes from the recognition of Jefferson's slaveholding past. Barron added that Jefferson, quote, felt that blacks were inferior to whites in his own words, end quote. Barron also contributed additional words about the slavery and Native American atrocities Jefferson contributed to. While the sentiment is clear, what is not clear is where the statue will ultimately end up. Presently, the options seem to be either move Jefferson to a less prominent spot in City Hall or send him to a historical society. In the end, a final decision was not yet reached, but could come as soon as the end of the year. Regardless of the ultimate location, the commission voted to remove the statue, but will find a place where it will remain in the public realm.
With fall in full swing, autumn activities like fall festivals, pumpkin patches, and trick-or-treating have taken over the DMV. In the spirit of Halloween, ghost tours in prominent neighborhoods are running throughout the district. Isabella Yaskanich has a look inside one of these ghost tours running on Capitol Hill.
Hi, I'm Isabella Yaskanich, here in the Capitol Hill neighborhood in D.C. to explore one of D.C.'s top fall attractions. With Halloween just around the corner, many D.C. residents are looking for a spooky outing to get into the Halloween spirit. One popular local spot, Horror on Capitol Hill, a haunted ghost tour, is already drawing in crowds. The tour takes people around the Library of Congress, the Supreme Court, and the Capitol building to learn more about the haunted histories. People can even dress up in costume. I spoke with Christopher, a tour guide at Horror on Capitol Hill, to learn more about what they do.
Horror on the Hill. It's probably the most comprehensive ghost tour that you'll find in the region. And the reason for that is because it has been developed over time. The average tour usually begins at the Madison branch of the Library of Congress, and then we'll take you over to the Cannon Building, across to the Capitol Building proper, talk about haunts inside the House of Representatives and the Rotunda, a few in the Senate, and then we'll whisk you across the street to the United States Supreme Court, where an older building once stood and is responsible for the haunts that exist there now. After that, we cross back across the street and we finish up on the main plaza, duration of which is usually about an hour and a half. The average tour generally does involve a lot of haunted history. Now, there is no haunt without the history, so you'll have to be patient and simply wait for it. But if you do keep your devices handy, you may just capture orbs. We guarantee at least 10 separate haunts per tour. Sometimes more, depending on how patient you are.
If If you are interested in going on a Horror on Capitol Hill tour, be sure to check out their website to purchase tickets. And while they are following COVID-19 safety precautions, they do offer some virtual experiences via Zoom. For GWeek, I'm Isabella Yaskanich.
Last month, we mentioned the expansion of Safe Ride. Today, we have Alina Fayez in the studio to provide more information about the expanded service.
Since it's finally fall here in the district, with midterms in full swing and the sun setting much earlier than before, students may feel like they need a safe way to get home from campus. Luckily, students both on and off campus can now use GW Safe Ride, thanks to an initiative led by SA Executive Vice President Kate Carpenter in coordination with GW's Transportation and Logistics Services. Carpenter sent out a survey to the student body back in early September to measure the student reaction to adding 3 new off-campus locations, including 2400 M Apartments, Connecticut Avenue, and the Lincoln Memorial, to the free GW-exclusive ride-sharing service. Carpenter received an overwhelmingly positive response, with more than 90% of the more than 240 respondents supporting the new stop sites. Carpenter said in an Instagram post announcing the new drop-off point that she, quote, saw a need for both on and off-campus students to arrive home and for all students to experience GW traditions safely. Students can request a safe ride between the hours of 8 p.m. and 4 a.m. any day of the week through the GW Rider app.
This is great because I have so many friends at 2400 M Apartments, and this makes it really convenient.
I've actually never used the GW Safe Rider app, so maybe now if the opportunity arises, who knows, I'll take it.
I'll see Katie around, safe riding.
Stay tuned for more after the break.
Hi. This isn't just our battle cry, it's our call, our challenge. Because when you were called to Washington, you were called to higher expectations, to a higher standard. We are called here to advance knowledge, to serve society, to change the world. Is that too lofty? Too aspirational? Is it simply too much to expect? Not if your classroom is a Smithsonian, the IMF, or on the doorstep of the Supreme Court. Not if you have access to the most hallowed institutions and formidable leaders. Not if you are given the tools to change minds, shape laws, influence entire fields of study, advance our way of life, change the course of history. From the nation's capital to the 4 corners of the earth, to far below the surface and far beyond our atmosphere. Here, unique opportunities, the ones that many people work much of their lives to get, are within your reach from the moment you arrive. This is where you find new pathways for preventing global epidemics, where your unexpected friend propels a new scientific movement forward. This is where you push forward as a team to break records and reach new heights. Where your classroom is 68 square miles of the most consequential land on Earth. This is where you will make it happen. This is the George Washington University, and what we make is history. So stand up, be bold, take risks, press on, push harder, raise high.
Welcome back. Colin Powell, the first Black U.S. Secretary of State and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, passed away last week due to complications from COVID-19, according to a statement from his family. He was 84 years old and was fighting a battle with multiple myeloma and Parkinson's. The retired 4-star general was a GW alum and shaped foreign policy for more than 4 decades. Among his other accomplishments, he was the National Security Advisor under President Ronald Reagan at the end of the Cold War, helping to negotiate peace between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. After the news of Powell's passing, President Joe Biden remembered him in a statement, remarking, quote, "He embodied the highest ideals of both warrior and diplomat."
On Halloween, Embassy Row is reopening their annual trick-or-treating event, where participants can go door-to-door for candy and potential tours from representatives from all around the world. There are new COVID restrictions, however, that everyone must follow in order to have both their international and educational experience. Reporter Claire Leibowitz has more.
This year, Embassy Row trick-or-treating is back. According to the Washington City paper, last year, amidst the pandemic, the event was done virtually. Organizers placed an emphasis on tours of architecture and the mysteries of the buildings, with the recommended candies enjoyed at home. Luckily, this year, the trick-or-treating will take place in person, with a virtual option for those interested or for those who do not live in the DC area. To access this link, you can email events@thingstododc.com. It will run Sunday, October 31st from 6:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. Participants can expect to meet at the north exit of DuPont Circle at the top of the escalator at 19th Street Northwest. It costs $30 to attend, costumes are strongly encouraged, and masks are required for indoor visits. Proof of vaccination will be required as well. The event advertises to kids and adults alike, offering an elevated Halloween experience. It advances the regular door-to-door Halloween to a country-to-country experience. ThingsToDoDC.com states participants can expect to tour the world with a single walk through DuPont Circle and Embassy Row. The candy served will represent customs from every continent. In addition to treats, you can also expect explanations of the mysteries behind the buildings and architecture. ThingsToDoDC.com states that families who used to live in these buildings will share stories about fabulous wealth, extravagant parties, and scandals. The website clarifies that they expect success at tours in 5 to 6 spaces, but it is not guaranteed. Coordination will increase as dates get closer. Good luck, happy Halloween, and for GWeek, I'm Claire Leibowitz. Back to the studio.
Thanks, Claire. On Sunday, October 17th, Keeping Up with the Kardashians star Kourtney Kardashian got engaged to her boyfriend, Blink-182 drummer Travis Barker. The pair dated for almost a year before Barker popped the question at a beachside hotel in Montecito, California.
All I can say is someone better check in on Scott.
Well, he had his chance, but I cannot wait to see Kourtney's wedding dress.
Me either. Well, that's all we have for you this week. Make sure to stay safe and have a great Halloween weekend.
As always, check us out on GW-TV.com and on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, we will see you around campus.